Hi everyone, it's Karen here, Chief Wrinkly at Running Like a Wrinkly. Today I want to talk to you about how you can get into running as an older runner. I get asked lots of questions about this, and this video is a compilation of my own research, speaking to medical professionals, and my own trial and error. Speaking of those medical professions, that's the thing to do first. Go and see your doctor. Just get his or her clearance that everything's fine for you to take up your running program. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's peace of mind. Moving on, I'm pretty sure you think the next thing I'm going to say is go and get yourself fitted for some running shoes. Not yet. The next thing you need to do is sort out your mindset. You need to know and work out why you want to do this running program. It's crucially important to work out what is your underlying deep reason for wanting to go running. What often happens if you don't do that is you can be full of enthusiasm and go out there for 2, 3 or 4 weeks, and then life sort of gets in the way and your motivation kind of drops off. Whereas if you have a really compelling reason, it's much easier to keep yourself going. So the first thing to do is work out why you want to go running. It's crucially important. The next thing I'm going to say is to start small. It's now time to go out for your very first run. How exciting. Now, obviously, you're going to need some footwear in order to go out and do this run, but you don't need super expensive trainers at this point. Just something that you can do a light jog in for a short period of time. So the reason I say start small is when you first start running, it's really important to experience success early on to fire you up to want to carry on with the program. So instead of deciding to go out for, say, 30 or 40 minutes, just choose a really small amount of time. Your mind is going to present so much less resistance to this, and you're much more likely to go. So what I'm going to suggest to you here is you just aim to go out for, say, 5 minutes. Now, what's likely to happen when you get out there is you will do more than 5 minutes. But what's really important here is once you've done that 5 minutes, you have succeeded in your session. It's a win, and this is really important. So regardless of whether you go on to do any more. So if you make the amount of time you aim to go out at the beginning of your program very short, you're much more likely to succeed, and this is fantastic for boosting you on and moving you forward and making you want to carry on. This is a really good tip actually for runners of any age, but I think it's really good for older runners in particular because it makes for the gentlest introduction to running I can think of. My next tip is to start slowly. Now, when you start running slowly, you have a much reduced risk of injury, and you can build up later to the pace you want to achieve. So what exactly is slow? Well, whilst you're running, if you can just about maintain a conversation, that's just about right. And don't forget, you never have to go any faster than this. If you want to keep to this pace, that's absolutely great, and lots of runners do. There are lots of slow runners. I'm a slow runner. So, just bear in mind that any running and slow running is better than no running. The next thing I would say, and especially as you start to progress through your program, is think about going out for minutes instead of miles. The distance you cover is not important at this stage, but the time on your feet is. Now, one thing that's always important to consider, of course, is hydration. And obviously, as an older runner, it's really important to think about this and to make sure you're drinking enough, especially for a female if you're approaching menopause or in menopause. I've actually done a whole video on hydration and given you some tips on how you can make sure you drink enough each day, and I'll pop the link in the description below. My next point is don't be surprised if you find that training takes longer. So when you see one of these training programs such as 6 weeks to 5K, then you very well may do it in that time, but it's also very common for it to take longer. As we get older, it takes our body longer to adapt to the stresses of running. So how much longer might it take? Well, it's very individual, and it's important that you become an expert on listening to your own body. But everybody says that, but what exactly are we listening for? Well, there are lots of signs. The common ones are feeling more fatigued, having more aches and pains than normal, your resting heart rate is higher, so don't forget to take your pulse. You may have experienced a dip in your mood, you may get a sore throat. There's lots of different signs that you are doing too much, or we call it overtraining. With me, for example, if I am doing too much, my first signs tend to be I'm more tired. I feel more tired even on rest days. I'll experience a dip in my mood, and if I carry on running and choose to ignore those signs, the next likely scenario is I'll succumb to a chest infection almost every time. I know I said this earlier, but I can't emphasize this enough. It's really important that you become an expert on your own body and listen to the signs it's giving you, and know your own signs for when you're doing too much. So, for example, if you're following a running program and it says you're supposed to go out the next day and do a run, and yet you're feeling overly tired, you have extra niggles and aches and pains, and certainly if your heart rate is up, if you've been measuring that, then ditch that session and don't go. It's much more important that you rest and only get back on your program when you feel recovered. So just look after yourself, eat and drink well, get enough sleep, which I appreciate can be really difficult in menopause, and only go out when you feel ready for it. And the important thing also to remember is you improve in physical fitness and running when you recover, not when you're out there doing it, but when you're recovering. So bear that in mind. The next thing I want to say is, as an older runner, don't just run. Add some other activities into your week, such as cycling or swimming, and certainly activities such as yoga and Pilates, which will help you work on your flexibility. It's also important now to add some strength training in. After menopause, the risk of osteoporosis really increases. And if you go and do some strength training, then the muscle pulling on the bone will stimulate the bone to get stronger. It's a really good idea to put in some strength training. Now, you can do this at home if you like. You can buy some dumbbells and find a program online and follow that. But if you are new to this, I would suggest you go along to a gym and just get some really sound advice about how to do this and the right techniques. And you can always carry on at home later if you want to. Again, it's another thing I can't emphasize enough as we get older. Strength training is fabulous for building up our muscles again and helping to keep those bones strong. The next thing I'm going to say, and I do tend to bang on about this quite a lot, is massively up the fruit and veggies. Now, of course, we know they're good for us. They're full of vitamins and minerals, but what I found personally, as someone who struggles to drink enough water, is the hydration side of things. So eating lots of fruit and veggies massively ups your hydration levels, and it's just an easy way to get more water into you. So my final piece of advice is to make self-care a priority. So in your 20s and 30s, you could use and abuse your body and it tended to bounce back. It doesn't tend to do that now. Make sure you're finding some activities that will help you relax, release tension, release stress, and just enjoy. The next thing I'm going to recommend, if your budget can stretch to it, is that you go and have a massage a couple of times a month. It's a super relaxing, de-stressing experience, and also, of course, your muscles will get a workout at the same time. If you can't manage to do that, then just buy some lovely body oil and make sure you massage your all through your body with it as often as you can. It will help enormously with the dry skin that we experience in menopause, and of course running will make you more dehydrated as well. I'd also really recommend that you experiment with meditation. I mean, really, the more ways you can find to bring some stress relief, to release tension, some peace and calm into your life, then the better for your overall health, for your well-being, and certainly for your running.